Hello everybody and welcome to yet another episode of The Week in Technology. My name is Karamjit and we're back to our regular schedule format, which is that Aisha is back from the US. Aisha, how are you?
Great.
Okay, good. Aisha, as we mentioned briefly in last week's show, Aisha was in Atlanta for Bio US. We'll get into her experience there shortly. We're going to start off with the cover story for this coming week, which is on Xstol. And the title says Xstol gets focused. Now, you know, this is Justin, the CEO, and this is his dad, Xavier Tan, who was actually the founder of the company back in the early 1990s. I think we spoke about Xstol in a show 3 weeks ago, but quite briefly, in the fact that I found it interesting. The story is done by Doreen. We both went for it, and I'm glad we went because it's a real eye-opener. It just showed that in those days, you know, in the 80s, pilots apparently, you know, had life really easy because they flew only 1 week out of the month, and then, you know, they had 3 weeks to just chill out. And so apparently a lot of pilots in those days set up businesses on the side just to keep themselves occupied.
Oh, right.
And his dad and two of his partners, I think one was a pilot, another one was a accountant or something, decided to set up an IT shop. So dabbling in that, then eventually Xavier's dad bought out the other two partners, and it was shortly after that he got the distributorship exclusive, you know, for Trend antivirus software for Malaysia. And the story of how he got that was interesting because in those days, you know, this was before, you know, going to the cockpit was considered a very dangerous thing, you know. Business class and first class passengers would sometimes request for them, you know, to go to the cockpit and just check it out and talk to the pilot. And one of the times when this happened, they got to talking with Xavier, Justin's dad, and found out that he had a small IT shop. And in that conversation from the cockpit, it was decided that, okay, you know, Xstol would become the exclusive distributor for antivirus software for Trend.
He spoke to a Trend
sales manager who was doing his rounds around the region, you know. And the deal was signed there in the cockpit, you know. I mean, not the deal, but verbally, they said, okay, you know, I will be the reseller for Trend antivirus software. I found it pretty interesting. But, I mean, of course, now a lot of you all know that Trend is listed. I mean, not Trend. Trend is listed in Japan, actually. But Xstol is listed on the Nasdaq market. They're doing pretty okay. I think they actually were in the red last year. And Justin is hoping that this year they'll break out even, you know. And that's with their new renewed focus on two pillars where they're going to focus their R&D on. So they're looking at specifically artificial intelligence and also face recognition. And they're working with a Malaysian gaming company to provide a second level of authentication for people when they log in and want to play games. Because as you know, and I wouldn't know, but I'm told this all the time, that gamers, you know, are just, those who are hardcore gamers present probably about 1% of the gaming market. Mm-hmm. But this is where 90% of the revenue is made from. And they all want, you know, and work hard to create games and characters and weapons. And they guard them jealously or zealously, you know, if I want to use the word.
But what kind of protection are they going to with the online gaming?
This is going to provide a second level where it's going to be a mixture of facial recognition too. But I think that's a project that they're working on because obviously if you want facial recognition, you need a software on the part of the user too, a webcam side, really, on the client side. But right now they're working on another level of authentication, and I don't know whether it involves biometrics. You know, it's a project that they're working on now, but they've already got a gaming company that's interested. So I think he'll reveal more when they actually make it work, you know. But he's excited they've got a committed buyer who is interested in that, you know, high level of security for their gamers. And let's move on to the US of A, Aisha, where you spent a week there. Yeah. And I know it was a very busy week for you, but tell us about it.
Yeah, I was working every day actually. So
even on Sunday, you arrived there on a Sunday, right?
Yeah, it was pretty. No, I didn't work on Sunday, but then they had lined up some programs for the media. But
okay.
It was great. I didn't want to come back.
I already knew that. Okay.
I realized when I was there because they had like, I think they were expecting an attendance of like 20,000 plus participants, and they were like about 2,200 exhibitors in the hall, and I realized how small Malaysia is, you know, in the map of the world. Because even in the exhibit hall, it's like our booth was like, you know, somewhere, you know, towards the end. It wasn't even in the middle. You know, obviously, you know, you have to pay to be in the middle. But it's just that it was an insight. Like, it was quite an eye opener going there, just seeing where Malaysia is placed in the global world in terms of biotechnology. And I really have to say that we have a lot to work on honestly. And the thing is, it's not really, I wouldn't say that it's entirely our fault that we're sort of behind. It's just because, I mean, in the US, that industry has been around for like 30 years already,
Yeah.
30 years. And it was only in like 2004 or 2005 that we started the biotechnology
Yeah.
policy.
National Biotech Policy
Yeah, so
2005.
it's at most it's only been about like 5 years for us.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of catching up to do. But the thing is, bear in mind that because we are late, you know, it is even more important that we don't make any mistakes. Because if we make any mistakes, then it's gonna like sort of like put us back another 5 to 10 years
Yeah,
at least. And
yeah.
where I see a gap is sort of the first gap I see is that because over there in the Western countries like US and Europe, their research institutes and their universities
Okay.
have very they do a lot of the research. So for pharmaceutical companies, even for sort of industrial biotechnology, or even agro-bio sectors, most of the research
It's
is
done in
actually
the universities.
in the universities and also research institute. It's
Okay.
not done in-house.
Okay,
So
okay.
in a way, you get the best of
Yeah.
because they let people do what they're best
Sure.
at. So
Yeah.
researchers are good at researching,
Yeah,
and that's what they
absolutely.
do. And that it's not happening in Malaysia. You know, like both sides are working in silos, and
Yeah.
there needs to be more sort of like coordination between the two of bringing what's in the laboratory to
Yeah,
actually, you know,
but
to business.
this is something that is well known. Everybody says it, but that's one of my frustrations, that we have not been able to overcome this very obvious, weakness in the ecosystem in Malaysia.
It's something that I think that needs to be fixed.
Of course, sure,
because,
yeah. Nobody denies that
because
does not have to be
biotech
fixed.
is a brain game, you know.
Yeah.
It's not really about
Yeah,
building,
exactly, yeah.
you know, multi-million-dollar manufacturing or laboratory facilities.
Yeah.
You know, those are just there to facilitate the
Sure,
people.
yeah.
You know, and if you don't build on your human capital, right, you're always going to be playing the game of trying to attract, big pharmaceutical companies.
And
to,
not
like,
only that, you're going to be proudly, having the Prime Minister come and open a gleaming new, billion-dollar building, and that's it, 6 months down the road, it's cobwebs, in the corner and roaches running
Exactly.
supreme.
It's and the thing is, Malaysia has a lot of potential in the sense that I know it's been sort of overused, but it is quite true in terms of biodiversity. The amount of flora and fauna,
Yeah.
even the resources that we have, right? Not a lot of countries actually possess those kind of
Sure,
natural
yeah.
resources. And the thing is, I do think we have to play to our advantage. Like, for example, Singapore is a very small country.
Yeah.
They know that for a fact. So their game plan is they try to attract as many world-class scientists as possible to
Yeah.
their country, and they give them a lot of benefits and stuff. And it's fine because, they play to their strengths, what they're not good at. And we need to play to our strength in order to catch up. And so where we have all these resources, I think, it's there definitely needs to be more sort of focus or specified
Yeah.
niche that we have to work on in our policy,
Okay.
and not just trying to do everything at the same time. Because because if you try and do everything at the same time, because we have a long way to catch up.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, we do, in the National Biotech Policy, there is a focus on a couple of areas, right? Industrial biotech, nutraceuticals, pharmaceutical, and agro-biotech. But
But
people have
that-
said that's too wide. I think it's
Yeah,
too wide.
that is too wide.
We should be brave enough to bring it down to 2 areas and say, let's just work on these 2 areas.
Yeah.
And like I've been telling you before, we have to practice absolute meritocracy in this industry too. If we show favors, to people based on race, religion, or whatever, it's absolutely not going to work. Absolutely, it's not going to work. And we got to just stop playing games and get serious about Malaysia as a country, as one entity moving forward. But okay, great. Aisha, I look forward to the articles. I know you're already doing your, you're
I would
up to your
have, yeah.
eyebrows in research, and look
It's
forward
like
to the
it's like
articles.
doing a small pieces in like 2 weeks time. So I've got a series of articles that's
Be
going to come
intense,
out.
yeah. So I know you're going to be working over the weekend, so and all of us will appreciate that. But okay, that's all we have for this week. We thank you for watching. Send us your comments, your feedback on how to make the show better. Help us mold the show to the way you want it to be. And we will see you next week. In the meantime, have a great week ahead. Have a great and productive week ahead with technology.